Hi again, friends. Today's vocabulary word is Electoral College. And we're doing math. How does 1 vote in Wyoming equal 3.7 votes in California? First, a history lesson. A long time ago, when the U.S. was forming, the founding fathers had to choose how the president was going to be picked. At that time, the states were like independent little countries. States with fewer people were worried that if the president was chosen by just a popular vote, the states with more people would always have more say and control the elections. The Electoral College was supposed to balance the amount of power that every state had in the presidential election. But the southern states wanted more power. Voting rights were up to the states at the time, but voters were usually white men who owned land. The southern states had a lot of enslaved people who at the time were not counted in the population. A very hurtful and racist rule was made so that the South could count enslaved people in their population, even though they were given no rights, no political representation, and could not vote themselves. This compromise gave the South the power that they wanted. By making their states seem bigger, they got more seats in the House of Representatives, more electoral votes in the Electoral College, and more power in choosing the president. While the Electoral College no longer directly references slavery, it still amplifies the voice of some voters above others. Sometimes a candidate can win the most votes from the people and still lose the election because of how the Electoral College works. Each state gets a number of electors. Every state gets 2, 1 for each senator, plus the number of its U.S. representatives. States with larger populations get more representatives, while states with smaller populations get fewer. Makes sense, right? The math is not mathing. Small states with small populations still get 3 electors no matter how few people they have. Wyoming, for example, has about 580,000 people and they get 3 electoral votes. That's 1 electoral vote for about every 193,000 people. Large states like California have 39 million people and they have 54 electoral votes. That's 1 electoral vote for every 722,000 people. This is how 1 voter in Wyoming has almost as much political power as 4 voters in California. That's a lot more say in choosing the president, and this is disproportionate. Disproportionate means that something is unbalanced compared to what would be expected or fair. For example, Wyoming is a small state with more political influence in the presidential election than California, a much bigger state. Wyoming's influence is disproportionate to its population size. There are 538 total electoral votes, and a candidate needs 270 of them to become the president. In most states, whichever candidate gets the most votes from the people in that state wins all of that state's electoral votes. All of them. This can make presidential elections feel unfair, but that's not the only thing. Smaller, more rural states often have more white voters compared to urban states with more racial diversity and more people. This means the concerns of Black and Latino voters are often overshadowed. And today, people who want to be president often pay really super special attention to swing states, many of which have less racial diversity. As a result, issues that disproportionately affect people of color might not receive as much attention from presidential candidates because they don't affect white voters as much. There's a lot of debate as to whether we should keep the Electoral College or not, and some people are working on ways to make sure that the popular vote matters more in future elections. To get rid of the Electoral College, we would have to change our Constitution. Another idea is the National Popular Voter Interstate Compact. This would have the states give all their electoral votes to whichever candidate wins the popular vote nationwide, instead of giving their votes to whoever wins their state's popular vote. Even though we covered so much today, there's still a lot more to talk about. If there's anything else you want to learn about, let me know, and I'll see you next time.